all listening to kind of all what you just said there, it kind of makes me think back to just the mindset of kind of the underlying feature in everything that you just said was discipline, and what being personal discipline. So how does disciplining yourself and disciplining your own habits fall into organization?
Well, your personal look, discipline is the core word of discipleship. I always point to the upper room where they had the Last Supper. Well, somebody had to book that room. One of the disciples had to go do that. Somebody had to make sure the bread was there. Somebody had to make sure the wine was there. But you know what? There was one element missing. Somebody forgot to get the foot washer, right? Somebody dropped that job. I don't know who that was. I'm going to say Judas. It was his job, and I'll say he forgot it for whatever reason. But then that created an opportunity for Jesus to say, okay, I'm going to wash the feet of disciples. But if you look at all the steps that were required for that moment to happen, they didn't happen by themselves. Jesus didn't just do a miracle and says, well, all these things are suddenly going to appear. Everybody had to do a part to make that happen. And so when something doesn't happen, you have to be disciplined enough to say, okay, I have to think this through top to bottom. And what I say is start with the end in mind, right? Everything is planned with the end in mind. That whatever you're planning, if the experience you want to have, and that doesn't matter whether it's a youth meeting, a camp, a retreat, a service, whatever it is you're planning, has to start with what is the end result? What is it I'm trying to get out of this? And then you have to work through that list that gets you there. Because if you're not working through the list and by the way, this is a terrible planning strategy. If you're just crossing your fingers that everything's going to go okay, that's not a great strategy. You have to actually do the work and plan it in your head, because then you have to think, if you're planning a service, you have to say, okay, what if X happens? And what if Y happens? And you have to think, well, what if I run out of time? What if you have to go through some what if scenarios to make sure that you have contingency plans? My contingency plans have contingency plans. Okay. So I have just learned that if you've done anything in youth ministry, nothing goes the way it's supposed to go. What if the technology fails? What if you're at camp and the visual goes out and that really cool video you wanted to show doesn't work? What is your backup for that? And one of the things that I made sure in youth ministry that I did was every piece of media was tested before I went up, from the PowerPoint to the video, because I've been in those situations where you assume something's going to work. And if you assume that it's going to work, the chances are it is probably not going to work. You have to test those. So there are certain, like you said, I think that's so key, that there has to be a certain discipline to it, where you say, okay, test the media. Are my notes ready? Are my slides good? Whatever that is, whatever you're preparing for, you then go to the end and say, this is what I want it to look like. I want to be organized. I want to be on point. I want to be able to have all these things in a row. What then does get me there? What are all the things? And what are the things that are going to prevent me from getting there? What is going to be a tripwire for me that's going to blow this whole thing up that I did not think about? And you have to be able to work through those processes and have a sense of personal discipline in that to make sure that things go well. And there's going to be some things that you can't even plan for. There's ridiculous things you can't plan for everything, but you can plan knowing the kinds of students you have, who's going to take over a meeting, who's going to, or an adult leader. It's like they're prone to forget something or whatever it is, that you may have to send that youth leader triple reminders, because they need triple reminders. So that's the point there, is that there has to be a certain sense of discipline for yourself, because you know the kinds of outcomes that you want to have.